I am Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today, I have my special guest. She is the author of Unprecedented Times, no other than Miss Lisa Thomas. Welcome to Book 101, Miss Lisa.
Hello, thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm fabulous like you. So, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, my name's Lisa Thomas. I am from Birmingham in the UK. I'm an author of Unprecedented Times, which is book one in a trilogy. I'm also a singer-songwriter and a content writer and a single mom of three.
Wow. So, being a songwriter, what is the big difference of being a writer to a novel?
Being a writer to a novel, it requires a larger percentage of your time. So, for example, writing one book would take a lot longer than writing one song because there's just so much more content in there. So that's why it's nice for me to be able to write songs too, because I have such limited time that sometimes it's nice to just be able to work on something to completion and know that I'm able to do that in a shorter period of time and feel that sense of accomplishment.
So, do you think writing a song is more easier than writing a novel?
Not necessarily, no. It's just different with a novel. My focus is on the story, whereas with my songs, it's far more personal, and I can write stories that are personal to me, and things that I am touched by. Whereas with my novel, I have to make sure that I'm including enough of me in there, but also that the story itself is good. So I could never relate it as closely to my personal life as I can with my songs. And sometimes it's more difficult to write about things that are personal to you.
Yes, definitely. So, if you're writing a song, is it uh, required that you experience of what you're writing, or either of the two, writing a song or writing a novel?
Not necessarily specific experience, but a general experience in the area in which you're writing. It does make a massive difference because obviously you can relate to it a lot more, and when you can relate to it, you can convey that message in a much clearer way that other people will be able to grasp and relate to. So I think it's easier, not easier, but better if you can write things that you are personally touched by and or have personally experienced, because then you can put more passion into that writing, and I think that that really does come across in the writing then.
Before you're writing Unprecedented Times, did you write short stories or prelude to your novel?
Not really, no, because my main drawback through it, right, sort of my biggest hurdle has been my own lack of self confidence. So prior to Unprecedented Times, I'd always wanted to write a book, but I'd never had that confidence in myself that I could write a book to completion that I was proud enough of to actually put out there. So everything I wrote prior to Unprecedented Times has sort of just either gone unfinished or I haven't really put my all into it because I never really thought that it would be any good. So Unprecedented Times is the first thing that I actually put my whole heart and soul into. Um, so yeah, so that's my first bit of writing. Prior to that, I just have things like poetries and short stories that either have I've done nothing with or have gone unpublished or unfinished or that I've actually thrown away.
Sounds interesting, Miss Liz. So, what age you realize that you're good in writing?
When I was quite young, I think was about 7 or 8, and my school had a poetry competition. And even though there were much older students than me in the school at the time, I won that poetry competition. And that was because I'd realised whilst I was writing the poem how nice it is to be able to express yourself through creative writing, because I was quite a quiet child. So I think that was when I both discovered my passion for it and realised that actually when I do put my heart into it, I can produce things that I'm quite proud of.
So who encouraged you to pursue your passion?
To be completely honest, I was never really strongly encouraged to pursue writing or to pursue music, and I think that that was part of the reason why I never really focused on it alongside my lack of self confidence. I was always sort of encouraged to pursue more secure, better looking jobs. So that's what I did. I sort of decided at a young age that instead of being an author, I would try to become a journalist. And the only reason that I didn't do that was because I then went to university and sort of learned about journalism and the propaganda that is pushed through the media and things like that. And I didn't want to be a part of that. So then I just went into a finance job because I wasn't sure how I could make money from my writing.
So right now, are you focused on your to become a professional writer?
No, at the moment, to be honest, my focus is mainly just on developing my own confidence, realizing that I can do more than I thought that I could, lifting those limitations that I've always had on myself, and just actually putting myself out there and feeling like that I'm okay and I'm good enough to put myself out there. That's what's important to me, is to just expose myself and put myself out there outside of my comfort zone. My main focus has to be my children. I'm a single mom of three, and I'm also a self-employed content writer and digital marketer. So my focus has to be on my business simply because I need that income to support my children. And being an author and being a singer-songwriter is something that I do for fun, to try and sort of give me something else outside of work to do, and just a way of building my confidence through putting bits of myself out there.
Very well said, Miss Lisa. So unprecedented times. How did you craft the book?
Well, when the outbreak first started, the COVID-19 outbreak first started in China in December, and everybody was saying how it was going to be nothing, it wouldn't come over here, it wouldn't be a big deal. And I had the storyline idea for Unprecedented Times that it would escalate, it would go around the world, it would lock the world down, it would become a pandemic. And obviously, this then did happen in real life. In my story idea, once the world had been exposed to COVID-19 as it was in real life, in my story, the virus then mutates to a much more lethal, much more contagious version of the virus and threatens to wipe out 75% of humanity. And we have a very tough decision to do, to think about how far will we go to save humanity. So the book itself was actually, because it followed real life inadvertently, real life followed my book idea. For the first sort of third of the book, it is quite in line with real life, and it does include real facts and real stats and data, so that future generations who sort of look back on the book can see actually what it was like. And because it's written from 4 character points, it shows you how the virus impacted different people. So up until the first third of the book, it is very much a sort of fact meets fiction story. And thereafter, my virus then escalates and creates this science fiction dystopian world that becomes an alternative history. So what could have happened?
So this novel is all about the COVID-19 pandemic.
It is, yes. So it's about the pandemic. It uses the pandemic as a backdrop. But like I say, in my book, the virus mutates, it becomes more lethal, more contagious. And then the decisions that we have to make then creates this different alternative history. So it's very science fiction, very dystopian. And it's almost like a what could have happened if we weren't able to control the virus. And it then escalates into this second strain of the virus that is much more lethal.
Very well said, Miss Lisa. So this is the first installment of the trilogy. As your debut novel, what did you learn from it?
The biggest things I learned from it is that actually you need money to be able to create a book. And by that, I mean, I was very naive when I went into it and just thought, I'm going to write my book and put it out there and hope that it's good enough that people like the story. But what I didn't think about was the fact that people would be negative about it because of its cover, or because they could see that it hadn't been professionally edited. And this was my main sort of hurdles at the start, was the fact that I don't have the money to put into my book. It is just a little bit of fun. I am a single mom of 3 on benefits, so money is tight. I can't justify investing money in my book. So what I did was I had the book cover redesigned by a graphic designer on Fiverr. So instead of spending hundreds like some authors, I spent $35. I enlisted the help of many wonderful authors, editors, reviewers on Instagram and mainly on Twitter, all of whom helped me to edit and professionally proofread my book to get it to a very good professional standard. And I'm very, very lucky that I was able to get that for free from my friends on social media communities. So that's been sort of the biggest hurdle so far.
Congratulations for your debut novel, Miss Lisa. Do you think that Unprecedented Times will be a timeless novel?
I think so, yes, because of the feedback that I've received from it. Many people have said that it's just so true to real life, but at the same time, it's such an exciting, dramatic story. I've had people tell me that they want to see it as a film, they want to see it on the big screen. Some people have said they'd like to see it as a TV program. Personally, I think it'd work better as a series of films, but it's really amazing that people want to be able to watch it, and they're excited about the next installment of the book. They have questions, they're eager to know what's happened, and they're starting to speculate as to what's going to happen. And for that, for me, that's really exciting, because that means that they've sort of engulfed themselves into this little world that I've created, so much so that they're trying to guess almost as to what's going to happen next and how it's all going to unfold.
So, if you want to revise the book Unprecedented Times, where or which chapter you want to revise?
None of it, to be honest, because it all leads up to a big story. This is part 1 of a trilogy, and it lays the foundations for the next 2 stories. So I wouldn't want to change anything at this point, unless there's a massive plot hole or something that's factually incorrect about the book that I haven't yet noticed. There is nothing that I would want to change, because I need things to unfold the way that they have done, so that it builds the story in preparation for book 2 and book 3, and this sort of explosive ending that I'm hoping to achieve.
So, how many chapters of Unprecedented Times?
19 chapters.
Okay, so for those 19 chapters, what chapter did you have difficulty of writing with?
I think probably the most difficult chapters were the first sort of opening chapters, when I was not only trying to build the story with regard to the characters and get people to understand who these characters were, but I was also introducing a lot of scientific facts with regards to the virus. And I found it quite difficult at the start to put the facts and the data and the information that needed to be explained in order for the reader to have a good understanding of the story in such a way where it wasn't boring. So it wasn't like they felt like they were sat there just sort of reading an essay. So that was probably the most difficult part, is in the first sort of 4 or 5 chapters, was getting that scientific information into the story without it being tedious.
So, which chapter do you love writing with?
My most favorite chapter was probably in the middle of the book, so it would be chapter 11. And this was initially in the first version, where we were working across 2 timelines. This was actually my final chapter of the book. And then when I put it into chronological order, it actually sort of fell into the middle of the story. And I added a new ending to the book. So anyone who has the earlier version did have the opportunity to re-download the new version of the book for free because it had this new ending. But that was probably my favourite chapter because it allowed me to really get into the emotions of the characters. And one person actually said to me that there's a couple of times throughout the book, particularly in that chapter, there was one sentence where she both laughed and cried at the same sentence because it just held so many different emotions for her on so many different levels. And I think that is just wonderful.
Very well said, Miss Lisa. So, do you think Unprecedented Times good for a series or a movie?
I personally would put it in as a movie. People have said that it would work fantastically as a television series, and actually, I can see that being the case. But if it were to work as a television series, then the ending that I have planned for this book, it could not happen. It would need to the story would need to unfold in a different way. So book 3 would sort of be rendered useless if this were to become a TV series now. But I think that personally it would work better as a movie because it's more explosive. I think it would need to be more of a sort of blockbuster movie where you go to the theatre and you sit there and you listen to it with the Dolby surround, and it's very exciting.
Okay, if let's say this novel of yours will be a movie and they will change the title of the book, is it okay for you?
Yeah, that's fine. If they want to change the title of the book, that's absolutely fine. I don't really mind with specific details like that. So if they wanted to change the name of the character, then that would be fine. I don't mind small changes such as that, but it would be important to me that if they had the first book and wanted to turn that into a movie, I need them to understand where the story unfolds thereafter, because I wouldn't want them to change the plot now and have that disrupt the story later. So as long as they wouldn't be plot, I'd be happy with small minor changes such as the name of the book.
Very well said, Miss Lisa. Before we go on, I want to shout out to the people listening in the United States, especially in the state of Illinois. In Chicago, I have 98%. Thank you so much. Minooka, Schaumburg, Rockford, Sycamore, Manhattan, Springfield, Elgin, Country Club Hills, Morris, Lake Forest, Palatine, Wooddale, Mammoth, Fox Lake, Arlington Heights, Sterling, Edwardsville, South Bellort, Cana, Poria, Hardwood Heights, Hoffman Estates, River Forest, Geneva, Carroll Stream, South Holland, Alton, Russell, Juliet, Vermont Hills, Naperville, Evanston, Addison, Round Lake, Troy, the last but not the least, Maryville. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast, because this podcast is created to empower writers all over the world like Miss Lisa Thomas. So, Miss Lisa, let's talk about the negative reviews and the positive reviews of your book, Unprecedented Times. And according to the book Dragon's Horde by AV, this is, I think, a negative reviews. Unfortunately, the structure left a lot to be desired for me, and really quite disjointed between a focus in the beginning on the WHO and a certain characters, with a shift to the victims later on in the novel. How did you comment on that?
Well, the book has been restructured, so I'm not sure if that review was based on the chronological version of it or the new version of the book. But with any negative reviews, I'm always happy to take on board things that people say, because obviously I only see this from my perspective. I don't have an objective view of my book, whereas other people do. So it's good for me to hear feedback from people, because then I can either decide to, pull my book as it is, rewrite it and sort of improve. But it's also a good learning curve for me for my second book and third book, because I am a debut novelist. I'm not going to be doing everything perfectly. But I also have to also keep in mind that actually when you're creating art, you're never going to create one piece that fits all people. There's always going to be someone that doesn't enjoy your work, and there's always going to be someone who feels the need to comment on that. So I'm just trying not to take reviews personally. Where I can learn from them, I will. Where someone is just being personal, I'll just sort of laugh and move past it because it's just not worth stressing over.
Very well said, Miss Lisa. So, do you think that negative reviews is make you perfect in the process?
Yes, they certainly help you to improve improve yourself. It was actually my first 1-star review was actually somebody who their main from reading their review, their main grievances with the book were the fact that they could tell that it wasn't professionally edited, and they could tell, and they were unhappy with the dual timeline. So now actually if that person were to read my book, they might have a completely different opinion of it because they weren't happy about the dual timeline. So I've removed that. It's now chronological and easy to follow. They were unhappy that it hadn't been professionally edited, and it has since been professionally edited by a number of different editors. So now there aren't going to be those same problems with the book that reviewer had before.
Yes, according to Colin, he said a brilliant but scary. What element that you put in the story that make brilliant and scary?
And the reason why he said that was because if going on into the later in the review, he goes on to say that it's scary because of how it could have happened. So in real life, viruses do mutate all the time, and we had a COVID-19 pandemic and we were able to control the virus. We've created immunizations and we've been able to sort of fight the virus. But it's scary to think that actually my book could have happened, because actually that virus, it could have mutated, it could have become more lethal, it could have become more contagious, it could be threatening to destroy humanity as we know it. So actually it's scary because my book is telling an alternative history that could very easily have become our history.
Indeed, Miss Lisa. And according to George, compelling story everyone should read. So, what are the elements that you put so that your readers glued to it?
Some of the elements, so such as George, the one that says it's compelling, he actually read the book twice straight over. So he read it through once and then read it through again. And the reason for that is you've got the interesting storyline with regards to the virus, but then you've also got this very philosophical element to it too. There's a lot of love, romance, comedy in the book also. So although it's primarily science fiction and dystopian, it does have elements of comedy, it does have elements of romance, and it sort of focuses on questioning what you would do in certain situations, how far you would go to save the people that you love, and how far you would go to save humanity, and how far you would go to retain who you are in the process of doing that. And it goes into talking about how the important things in life are, family and friends and those magical moments that you make with one another. It's not the materialistic possessions that you obtain throughout life, it's the people that you get to call your own that are important. And actually, when a virus comes out like this, it doesn't matter what culture you are or what race you are or what God you believe in. We're all the same people. We all can be easily just as affected by this virus, and we came together during the virus, and we showed that actually we are stronger when we're together. So the idea behind this book is to just remind people that actually we are stronger together, and we should be looking after each other. We should be loving each other, because that is what is important in life, is love and hope, not cars and holidays, but the love and hope that we should all be sharing.
Very well said, Miss Lisa. And according to T. Door, a unique and ambitious book. How ambitious your unprecedented times?
Oh, it was very ambitious, and it was a big job really for my first debut novel. I probably took on quite a lot because it is very scientific based. So it did mean that there was a lot of research involved, and I had to really understand the science behind it. So it had to be very factually correct. It was very fast paced, so you've got a lot of things going on at the same time, and in order for the story to not have any plot holes, everything has to happen at a specific time, with no sort of leeway for error. So the planning and the research for this alone took an immense amount of time. It took months before I actually started writing the book. I was planning it and researching for quite some time. But also then it brings in very powerful quotes and ideas, and just makes people really stop and think about things. So I've got quotes in there such as, if you plant seeds of happiness, happiness will grow, and things like that people find quite powerful, and I think that collectively all of that has made it quite ambitious. Like, I've tried to cater to a lot of people and include little bits of each genres, because I need it to be enjoyable to a large audience, because it has affected the whole world. So it makes sense that the book would appeal to at least as many of those as possible.
Yes. So, according to Jane, fabulous book. I love it. What is the difference of being ambitious and fabulous?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I think Jane found it fabulous because she enjoyed the book on a number of different levels, and I think that sometimes you will read a book and you'll enjoy a certain character, or you'll enjoy the story, or you'll enjoy the way that author writes. Whereas I think with Jane particularly, I think she enjoyed the story from a number of different aspects. She enjoyed my storytelling capabilities. She enjoyed sort of how it related to reality and the what ifs. She enjoyed the alternative sort of history, but then she also really engaged with the characters as well. So I think for her, it was a very well-rounded book, and that's for her what made it fabulous.
How does it feel if your readers describe you as a brilliant author?
It feels absolutely amazing. I think one person said that this book rightfully deserves a place as a masterpiece of our time. And as you can see, I know that line off by heart, and that's because I've read and reread that review so many times. Because as an author, it's difficult to get your name out there and you get your book out there, and I think we all experience this as authors. It's a very saturated market, and those reviews are absolutely priceless. And there are so many times when, as an author, you feel like you wonder if you're wasting your time and you feel like giving up. But all you need to do is look back at a review like that and think to yourself, actually, you know what, even if in my next book I only get one review that is that amazing, it's still going to be worth it, because I've still had that big impact on at least one person.
Yes, very well said, Miss Lisa. And before we go on, I want to invite you to listen to my other podcast, Food 101, our third season with Chef Alessandro, one of the executive chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. And my latest episode with Miss Allowing. He is the CEO of Ubli, which bring you a breakthrough about combat health crisis nowadays, like diabetes and obesity. So please do listen to my latest episode with Miss Ali Wing. Once again, Food 101. So, Miss Lisa, who are your favorite authors?
Oh, there's so many of my favourite authors. So when I was a child, I think my favourite authors were Roald Dahl and Beatrix Potter. And then as I got to sort of teenage years, I started to sort of lean towards the Stephen King and Anne Rice novels. Thereafter, I really enjoyed Tolkien. I love the Lord of the Rings series. I enjoy Dan Brown novels because I just feel like a lot of research goes into his books. I actually learn quite a lot from reading Dan Brown books, and I really enjoy his story ideas too. I also really love the Harry Potter books, and I know that a lot of people have since unfavoured the Harry Potter books based on J.K. Rowling's social media presence and the things that she said about transsexuals. But I'm trying to sort of separate the work from the author. I still enjoy the books, so I'm still going to read them. So yeah, it's a wide range of books that I love. My favourite book is probably Jane Eyre. I do love the Bronte sisters because I feel like that they paved the way for female writers. Obviously, in their time, female writers weren't really sort of known, but they made themselves known and they wrote masterpieces that I still love and read today. So yeah, so a wide variety of authors and books there.
So if you describe the writing, what is it?
I think my favourite authors will they will be able to create a story, a world that I can get lost into. When I'm reading a story, I tend to sort of I play it out in my mind. It's almost like I'm watching a movie in my head as I'm reading along to the story. And there will be characters in there that I can either really relate to or really despise or really love. So in order for a story to be good for me, it has to have this sort of world I can get lost into, to the point where I start to feel emotional in some respect. You know, I'll laugh out loud at something funny that happens, or I'll think, oh no, I don't want that character to do this, or I need to be emotionally invested in that story. And if an author can do that, then to me that they are a good author.
Yes, indeed. So if you describe your writing, what is it?
My writing is, I think this is why someone called me ambitious. My writing aims at a lot of different things. So I want to tell a good story and create characters in a world that people can get engulfed into and absolutely love. I also want to put a little bit of me into my writing, because I feel like that gives my writing more passion and more purpose if it has a sort of an element of me in there. But I also want it to make a positive difference, even if it's only a small positive difference. So in my first book, I talk about sort of hope, and I try to spread the idea of hope and inject hope into my readers as they're going through the book, despite obviously the terrible circumstances of the book. So my writing is kind of three-pronged, and I think that's what makes it so ambitious and what could quite easily make it go very wrong.
So do you think in the future you will be the next footstep of Miss Rowling?
Honestly, I would love to say yes. I would love to say that I've got that talent and I can see that happening for me. But like I said, I've always suffered with self-confidence. And for me, this has never been about becoming a famous author and having my book turned into a movie, because although that would be an amazing dream come true, it's also very difficult to get that to happen. The market is incredibly saturated. There's a lot of authors and books already out there. So to get yourself known, to get your book known, to get it even into the eyes of the right people is very, very challenging. And I see a lot of authors and musicians getting incredibly disheartened because they're putting all their energy into promoting their work and they're just seeing no return on it. Whereas I'm at the moment, I'm promoting my work, I'm promoting other people's work. Mainly, I'm just enjoying being part of this community and I'm not trying to put pressure on myself. And by doing that, I'm able to enjoy the experience a lot more. So I don't believe that I will ever become the next best-selling author. I've been told by people who've read my book and listened to my music that I could be there, I could get there, and that's absolutely amazing. But for now, I'm just going to sort of enjoy the ride.
Yes, Miss Lisa, can you be my guest also on my Music on 101 and let's talk about your music?
Of course, I would love that. Yes, please do.
That'd be awesome. And then let's promote your book over there and let's have fun. Miss Lisa, this is your debut and then the second book, when it will come.
I'm hoping the second book will be out this year. It's all thoroughly planned. I've already started sort of writing it up. My main issue is with time because, as I said, I'm single mom and self-employed, so those have to come first. But I'm hoping that I'm able to get enough time to get this completed and thoroughly proofread and edited by various people and sort of get that out there this year. So if it does come out this year, which is I'm pretty sure it will do. I'm hoping it will be towards the end of the year, but not in December. I want to try to avoid the Christmas month if possible, because I think we've all got enough to pay out during that month as it is. So sort of maybe towards Halloween, sort of. Maybe it'll be a Halloween special.
Yes, cross my finger, Miss Lisa. And can you come back and promote?
I would absolutely love to. The next book is going to be called A New Normal. So we've got Unprecedented Times, New Normal, and then the third book title will be released sort of closer to the date of that. But yes, we've already got a working title for it. So I would love to come back and discuss New Normal with you once that's available for purchase.
Definitely. So please, Miss Lisa, invite our listeners to buy your book.
Please do buy my book. I would be so over the moon if you bought my book, because it donates to charity. So it does go to sort of helping other people and giving back to the community, which is what I've always wanted to do. You'll be making me very, very, very happy in the process. And yes, I know you can also go and stream the music as well for free on different music streaming platforms. Follow me on various social media. If you are a creative person and you write books, music and things like that, then please do share that work with me on social media websites, and I will share those with my followers, and I'll support you just as much as you support me, if not more.
Yes, definitely. Let's support Miss Lisa Thomas, because the book is one of a kind and is good for a good cause. So please, once again, buy Unprecedented Times, because it's phenomenal, people. It's one of a kind. It's something that we experience in this 21st century. So once again, Miss Lisa, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a fantastic time to talk to you today.
Yes, Modicom people, see you soon.